So before obviously starting everything that we're going in today, we're going into deep fakes, which is obviously a very serious issue here. I'm currently learning more and more about it. I'm going to be reading an article today that goes deeply into it, and I'm going to be reading it with you guys for the first time. We're going to go on this journey together, and I do think it's important for us to speak about as survivors because this is the future's, not only the future generations, but it's also the current. What is it called? I think it's called the ingenuity gap, which basically states that the more that we progress technologically, etc., there will be a gap between how we actually morally view the progression. And so I think it's important for us now more than ever with AI, et cetera, to really not just keep an eye on it, but also hopefully get active in the sense where we're trying to make sure that no one gets harmed. I really want to talk about it and talk about the predatory behavior that can come with AI. So we'll get into that. I don't know if anyone has seen my episode with the reported survivor of Diplo, Shelley, but we talked a lot about revenge P, which is actually image-based SA, because you must remember that the language around these issues matters. Revenge P there's a lot of issues, and I definitely recommend watching that episode with Shelley where we break it all down. Being in the public eye, I am a survivor of image-based SA. I sadly had to witness and experience the traumatic unfolding of when my photos were leaked online. There were also photos of me as a child. Very traumatizing for me. And also, though, what I learned was that the law doesn't really protect those that have been exploited in that specific way. When I reached out to my lawyer at the time, it seemed like couldn't do much because even if he were to send a cease and desist or whatever to one website, then that website will just end up opening up another website and then it just pops up over there. And here is once again the ingenuity gap. Technology is unfolding, it's progressing, it's evolving, and there are people that get harmed along the way. And so that was my first personal experience when it came to online image-based SA. Then moving forward in 2017 or something, I found out that people were putting my 12-year-old face on blank, blank, blank. I had fans and friends sending these obscene, images that weren't even of me, but just my face as a minor. And it really freaked me out. I'm not going to lie, because intimacy, all of these things need to be consensual. And the second that they're not, that's when we are getting into a space that is extremely damaging. And I felt hopeless because there's not really much to do about it. And that's why I'm here today to start talking about the next generation that seems to be deep fakes. And I think it's a very serious issue. A lot of unions have obviously been protesting when it comes to AI. And what are the other harmful aspects of AI? Can AI be a predator? Yes, because I don't think collectively human beings have healed their personal predatory aspects of themselves. As long as we're not looking in the mirror, we're not going to be able to fix them or to do better. So let's open up this NBC article, Kat Tenbarge, which, by the way, wonderful journalist. Really, really admire this individual. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you do not follow her on Twitter, please do. She is amazing. Please, please follow her. So her and Melissa Chan did this article called 4 Teen Girls Victimized by Deepfake N Photos. There are few, if any, pathways to recourse in most states. The FBI has warned that technology used to create P deepfake photos and videos was improving and being used for harassment and extortion. Teenage girls in the U.S. who are increasingly being targeted or threatened with fake N photos created with artificial intelligence or other tools have limited ways to seek accountability or recourse. As schools and state legislators struggle to catch up to the new technologies, according to legislators, legal experts, and one victim who is now advocating for a federal bill. Wonderful. Love to see that. Since the 2023 school year kicked into session, cases involving teen girls victimized by the fake end photos, also known as deepfakes, have proliferated worldwide, including at high schools in New Jersey and Washington state. Local police departments are investigating the incidents. Lawmakers are racing to enact new measures that would enforce punishments against the photos' creators, and affected families are pushing for answers and solutions. Obviously, makes complete sense. Unrealistic deepfakes can be made with simple photo editing tools that have existed for years. But 2 school districts told NBC News that they believed fake photos of teens, children, that have affected their students were AI generated. AI technology is becoming more widely available, such as Stable Diffusion, open source technology that can produce images from text prompts, and Face Swap, tools that can put a victim's face in place of a performer's web face in a video or a photo. Wait, what? Apps that purport to undress clothed photos? I didn't even know this was real. So I'm guessing like you find a photo of someone who's clothed and then you're able to, with AI, undress them? This is awful. Identified as possible tools used in some cases and have been found available for free on app stores. So that's honestly a really great realization, because there are ways to protest, show up, etc. when it comes to Apple, Google, etc. that are helping people upload these apps. These modern deepfakes can be more realistic looking and harder to immediately identify as fake. I didn't know how complex and scary AI technology is, and Francesca Manni, 15, a sophomore at New Jersey's Westfield High School, where more than 30 girls learned on October 20th that they may have been depicted in explicit AI manipulated images. Oh my God, this future is already enough to be freaked out about. And from even my own personal experiences, that I'm very protective of Nova and truth. Now there's this. This is really scary. I was shocked because me and the other girls were betrayed by our classmates, she said, which means it could happen to anyone by anyone. Politicians and legal experts say there are few, if any, pathways to recourse for victims of AI-generated and deepfake P, which often attaches a victim's face to an N body. The photos and videos can be surprisingly realistic, and according to Mary Ann Franks, a legal expert in non-consensual explicit media, the technology to make them has become more sophisticated and accessible. A month after the incident at Westfield High School, Francesca and her mother, Dorada Manni, said they still do not know the identities or the number of people who created the images, how many were made, or if they still exist. It's also unclear what punishment the school district doled out, if any. Yeah, I wonder if it was like a Brian Friedman situation where when I was looking into the Berkeley old yearbooks, etc., I realized that Brian Friedman was missing in the yearbook, but his legal whatever partner for his law firm was in the yearbook. I think his name is Tatelman. But Brian Freeman was nowhere to be seen. And it kind of made me feel that maybe the only punishment to his alleged behavior was just being kicked out of the yearbook, which is like, wow, you're just not allowed to be in the yearbook. I don't know if that's enough scrutiny, enough consequences for someone to necessarily learn from their behavior. It's very interesting here. They're talking about the school district, if they're even going to do anything. What are they going to do? We learned what Berkeley did. The town of Westfield directed comment to Westfield Public Schools, which declined to comment. Of course, citing confidentiality, the school district previously told NBC New York that it would not release any information about the students accused of creating the fake N photos or what discipline they are facing. Superintendent Raymond Gonzalez told the news outlet that the district would continue to strengthen our efforts by educating our students and establishing clear guidelines to ensure that these new technologies are used responsibly in our schools and beyond. well, good luck with this. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be able to stop that. In an email obtained by NBC News, Mary Asfendez, the high school's principal, told parents on October 20th that it was investigating claims by students that some of their peers had used AI to create a graphic, images from original photos, which I can't wait to go into what my views are on this afterwards, by the way, guys, because I have a lot to say and a lot of history for all of us to acknowledge and learn about. At the time, schools officials believed any created images had been deleted and were not being circulated, according to the memo. This is a very serious incident, as Fendis wrote, as she urged parents to discuss their use of technology with their children. New technologies have made it possible to falsify images, and students need to know the impact and damage those actions can cause to others. Yeah, but also, like, in America, we don't even have SED that's even properly in place. Kids are learning about sexuality online through images, videos. How do we expect our children to necessarily understand impact when it comes to these things if there's not proper education in place? I'm hoping in the future that schools will, I don't trust them fully, I'm going to admit that, but hopefully in a utopian future, you have schools being able to teach children guidelines when it comes to how you respect your peers, when it comes to their blank, We also need to teach people to respect themselves and what are their morals and ethics, and reflect on that so that they can properly know how to show up in the world and treat others. I don't see it happening anytime soon, which is very scary. And now with the internet, most children are learning everything here. And there is a lot of room for bad things to happen and bad takes to happen instead of deep fakes, like deep bad takes on life. And it's overwhelming, I'm sure. Even as a teenager, for me, I was overwhelmed just being a teenager. And now you have internet, you have all these apps, it's a lot. And if there's no guidance there, no morals, no ethics, etc., what are we going to expect? While Francesca has not seen the image of herself or others, her mother said she was told by Westfield's principal that 4 people identified Francesca as a victim. Francesca has filed a police report, but neither the Westfield Police Department nor the prosecutor's office responded to requests for comment. Yeah, and this is the thing all the time. Like, what are the police going to do? They don't do anything. Police don't do anything when someone's been a victim of this. They honestly don't even take it that seriously. Obviously, most states are not giving SED. And the ones that are, there's like mixed signals there on how they're actually teaching it and what are what's their ethical code or their moral conduct when it comes to these things. It's more about SIs and STDs, etc., than how we actually respect one another when it comes to our sexuality. That's not really taught to us. And we all know that the patriarchy, for the most part, has dominated the ways in which we identify with our genders and how we act and how we behave and how we view one another. And if that's not dismantled, then anyone teaching anything is not necessarily going to do much, because there's a lot of deprogramming that we all have to do to properly understand, how we're going to show up in this world when it comes to having intimate relationships with other people. New Jersey State Senator John Bromnick said law enforcement expressed concerns to him that the incident would only rise to a cyber-type harassment claim, even though it really should reach the level of a more serious crime. Yeah, you would think, right? If you attach a N body to a child's face, that to me is child P, he said. Yeah, it is. And it's not only child P, but it's a way to get around the laws of child P, it seems like. Because you can be like, oh, but that's an adult body. Where does law enforcement step in? And that's why with technology and when it comes to predators, predators will exploit everything and anything ruthlessly, including technology. Now technology is another thing to exploit ruthlessly for predators. And it seems like this is now another way to get away with predatory behavior. The Republican lawmaker said state laws currently fall short of punishing the content creators, even though the damage inflicted by real or manipulated images can be the same. It victimizes them the same way people who deal in CP do. It's not only offensive to the young person, it defames the person. And you never know what's going to happen to that photograph, he said. You don't know where that is once it's transmitted, when it's going to come back and haunt the young girl. I mean, this is just disgusting. A pending state bill in New Jersey, Bromnick said, would ban deepfake P and impose criminal and civil penalties for non-consensual disclosure. Under the bill, a person convicted of the crime would face 3 to 5 years in jail and or a $15,000 fine. If passed, New Jersey would join at least 10 other states that have enacted legislation targeting deepfakes, according to Franks, a law professor and the president of the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, a nonprofit group that combats non-consensual P. The state laws targeting deepfakes vary widely in scope. Some of them, like ones in Texas and Wyoming, make non-consensual P, deepfakes, a criminal violation. Other states, like New York, have laws that only allow victims to bring forward a civil suit. Frank said the laws are all over the place. Of course they are, because predators love, by the way, messes, chaos. You see how whenever there's a predator around or predatory behavior, it's always complicated. No one can figure it out. That is usually a sign that there is predatory behavior happening, because usually things should be very simple when something's right and when something's wrong. You can have differing views about maybe what you think is right and wrong, but there is a clear line of what is collectively right and wrong. But when predators are involved, there's always this mess, and they get away with so much because of the mess, which is why it's so important for survivor-centric platforms, because we can communicate it a little bit more simply so that you understand not only what it is, but the damages that it does to individuals everywhere. So you got a patchwork of criminal charges, which are going to be difficult in these cases because the perpetrators, I would say predators, are going to be minors. So that raises its own questions, she said. Probably just the tip of the iceberg. It's unclear how many young people have been victimized by AI-generated N. The FBI said it is difficult to calculate the number of minors who are exploited, but the agency said it has seen a rise in the number of open cases involving crimes against children. There were more than 4,800 cases in 2022, which grew from more than 4,100 the year before, the FBI told NBC News. The FBI takes crimes against children seriously. Yeah, right, honestly. And works to investigate the facts of each allegation in a collective effort with our state, local, and tribal law enforcement partners, the agency said, adding the victims can face significant challenges when trying to stop the spread of the image or get it removed from the internet. Frank said there are likely a lot more incidents and that they will only increase. Whatever we're hearing about that floats up to the surface is probably just the tip of the iceberg, she said. This is probably happening quite a bit right now, and girls just haven't found out about it yet. Great. So there might be people in this chat, or someone that you know, that's your best friend, or your sister, or your brother, that is being preyed upon through technology, through AI. I mean, it really freaks me out, because how I remember it for me, because I was a public figure, it really spread really fast, you know, and that was really scary. And I got shamed. BuzzFeed wrote this horrible article about me when I was only 15 years old in the photos. I remember reading the article, and he legit shamed me as a child, instead of shaming the person who leaked those images to everyone to see. Anybody can be a victim of this. If your face is on the internet, a Facebook photo, an Instagram photo, anything, you are now vulnerable to this type of predatory behavior. And there's not much, apparently, to do about it, which is typical when it comes to survivor situations. There's little recourse, little consequences. At Issaquah High School in Washington State, A school district representative said a mid-October incident involving fake AI-generated imagery of students continues to affect the student body. Mother says dozens of their middle school-aged daughters have been victimized with AI-generated end photos created with an app that can undress clothed photos. This app, what is it? I guess there's undressed clothed photos? And who the is making this, by the way? Technology can be used for so many incredible things, to spread awareness to people everywhere about issues that actually matter. You know, the work that I'm doing has a bigger reach because of technology. Who are these individuals that are running these apps? What corporation, at least, is putting out these apps? Because there has to be some way to start properly targeting these individuals and create some type of change. It's kind of scary to me that there's not much to do. In a June public service, the FBI warned that technology used to create non-consensual deepfake photos and videos was improving and being used for harassment and extortion. Meanwhile, the National Association of Attorneys General called on Congress in September to study AI's effects on children and come up with legislation that would protect them from their ABUSES. In a letter signed by 54 state and territory attorneys general, the group said it was concerned that AI is creating a new frontier for ABUSC that makes prosecution more difficult. It's outsmarting us. We are engaged in a race against time to protect the children of our country from the dangers of AI. This is freaking me out as a mom. Like, I'm sorry, I'm like starting to sweat a little. It's also hot in here. But the combination is just giving me just the worst feeling, because already as a parent, you're protective. Don't want to use the word at least, but I have to use it here. Like, at least with my children, when it comes to human beings, I can teach them how predators operate and what I've learned. You know, I can give them some wisdom and knowledge. But when it comes to an app, I can't stop that from happening. I don't have control really at all. None of us do. And here is another way that predatory behavior is going to win once again. Once again, it seems like there's no consequences, repercussions, etc. Have a drink. I know, I'm like, quench my thirst. In December, urged to act as they continue to advocate for updated policies within the school system and seek accountability for what happened. We all know this is not an isolated incident. It will never be an isolated incident. This is going to keep happening all the time. We have to stop pretending that it's not important. The rise in incidents targeting high school girls follows the proliferation of AI deepfake apps and deepfake P websites where such material is created, shared, and now also sold. A 2019 report from Sensity, an Amsterdam-based company that tracks AI-generated media, found that 96% of deep fakes created at that point were blank explicit and featured women who didn't consent to their creation. Many victims are unaware the deep fakes exist. Frank said there is nothing parents and children can do to prevent the creation of deep fakes using their likeness. Instead, Frank said schools and local law enforcement need to make an example out of perpetrators in cases that reach the general public. Once again, consequences, repercussions, to discourage others from creating deep fakes. If you could imagine a dramatic and important response from the school in New Jersey or from the authorities in New Jersey to make an example out of the case, really strict penalties, people go to jail, you might, once again, by the way, you might get the discouragement, Frank says. In the absence of that, it's just going to become one more tool that men and boys use against women and girls to exploit and humiliate them, and that the law basically has nothing to say about.